Australia. A vast country of breathtaking natural beauty, teeming with extraordinary and iconic animals. And nothing says down under quite like a kangaroo. Renowned for their springy locomotion and boxing brawls. They're the most successful species of the mammals known as marsupials. These kangaroos are eastern greys. They're prolific breeders and raise their young in pouches. But bringing up baby is fraught with challenges. Predators, climactic extremes, and extremely lively joeys mean kangaroo mums face a daily struggle to keep their offspring alive. This is the secret life of the kangaroo. Sundown National Park in Australia sits on the border of New South Wales and Queensland. A rugged wilderness with rolling hills, deep river valleys, and mountain peaks rising to over 1,000 metres. Down in the lowlands, the park is home to around 300 eastern grey kangaroos. This large colony lives permanently here, feeding in the forest by night and out on the open pasture by day. For many of the females here, child rearing is a constant preoccupation. Eastern greys are prolific breeders. Each year the park sees the arrival of around 150 new joeys, the name used for all baby marsupials. And like all marsupials, kangaroos give birth to undeveloped young, which they raise in a specialised pocket, known as a pouch. Females can reproduce more than once a year, with family life somewhat resembling a production line. In fact, a female can have 3 babies, all at different stages of development. She can have one young at foot, living beside her on the ground. Another small joey growing inside her pouch, and be pregnant with a 3rd baby in waiting. The embryo of the 3rd joey can be in a state known as diapause. The pregnancy is literally on pause until there's more room in the pouch. But while this is an incredibly efficient way of ensuring maximum production of young, raising even one joey to an independent kangaroo that can fend for itself is extremely difficult. Around 50% of the joeys here don't make it. At each stage of the joey's development, mothers have to struggle to keep them well nourished and safe from predators. And it's something the females have to do alone. After mating, the males play no part in the raising of their young. Everything is down to mum. This is Lauren, named by the researchers who are studying the breeding patterns of the kangaroos here to find out more about why only some joeys survive. Despite numerous attempts in the last 4 years, Lauren hasn't been able to successfully raise a joey past 18 months old. For some mums, this is a common occurrence, while others seem to find the challenge of raising a joey far easier. But Lauren's managed to get her latest baby, Butterscotch, to 9 months. The little Joey is healthy, and now she's in and out of the pouch. So far, all is well. But the next 6 months will be critical, and everything will depend on Lauren. Only when the time is right, when her daughter has learned how to stay safe from harm, will Lauren let her go and fend for herself. A fully grown eastern grey may reach 1.5 metres tall. But when it's born, it's very undeveloped and just a couple of centimetres long. Kangaroos give birth 30 days after mating, much sooner than other mammals of a comparable size. At birth, the tiny joey is more like an embryo than a baby, and once born it crawls up the fur on the underside of its mother's belly into the pouch. Inside the pouch, the hairless joey, little bigger than a jelly bean, finds its way to one of 4 teats. It's unable to bite down, so the pointed end of the teat expands inside its mouth to stop the joey falling off. Once the joey latches on, it will only feed from the one teat until it weans. The pouch is a complete life support system, providing everything a growing joey needs: food, warmth, and shelter from the elements. And it'll be its home for the next 11 months. Special sphincter-like muscles in the pouch opening keep the joey safe inside, while Mum has her nose to the ground, grazing. Pouches are an efficient method of reproduction. So much time in the pouch allows a joey to do lots of growing before it has to face the outside world. After around 6 months safely nestled inside the pouch, a young joey will poke her head out for the first time. This is Poppy. Her mum Tilly needs to graze constantly to ensure she is making enough nutritious milk for her new joey. Poppy has just begun to take a look at the outside world and is yet to leave the safety of her mother's pouch. In around 3 months' time, she should be ready to take her first bouncing steps on her own 2 feet. But she has a lot of growing to do first. She won't start to get her full coat of dense fur until around 9 months. For now, her hair is fine and smooth. Her face is slightly pinker, especially around the nose, and her eyes are large and out of proportion with the rest of her head. Poppy is what is known as a pouch young, and life right now consists of staying safely within her climate-controlled envelope. She's protected against predators and from Australia's changeable environment. But as she grows, she will increasingly poke her head outside to sneak a peek at what's going on around her. Kangaroos are herbivores, spending the majority of their time grazing grasses and flowers. Joeys learn by watching other kangaroos. So at around 7 months old, while still tucked safely in the pouch, joeys taste their first mouthful of grass. Over the next 2 months, legs get longer, heads get bigger, and tails get thicker. Eventually, after 9 months in the relative safety of Mum's pouch, it's time to leave that protective pocket and take the first tentative hops into the great outdoors. They've had a bit of a preview of what to expect from the outside world, but it's almost like a second birth. This Joey has just begun to explore on his own, each time taking longer and longer sorties away from his mum. After so long in the pouch, he's not very experienced at moving around. Hopping might come naturally, but it still takes coordination and practice. He's got to learn just what those great big gangly legs can really do. This time in a Joey's life is known as the in and out phase and lasts for the next month or two. After his brief foray into the outside, he's keen to get back home. But Mum and Joey need to work as a team. Both need to be in the right position for him to find his way back in. Mum needs to lean forward to create the necessary slack in the pouch opening for the youngster to clamber his way in. She also needs to lower her arms and hold them out to the side. But researchers here have noticed that this doesn't always come easily to some mothers. If this mum doesn't adopt the right position soon, it could lead to the Joey becoming exhausted before he can get back in safely. Outside, her Joey is completely defenceless. Predators could be watching. Carnivorous lizards called goannas live in sundown, as do predatory snakes. It's not venomous, but this carpet python would easily crush an 8-foot Joey. They hunt by stealth and ambush. They use heat-sensitive pits on the tip of their noses to detect tiny changes in temperature, which help them locate warm-blooded prey, like kangaroo joeys. Killing is by constriction. This suffocates the prey. A Joey that strays too far from the protection of its mother could be swallowed whole. At last, Mum bends down, and the inexperienced little Joey has his opportunity to return. But now he's missing the signal from Mum. Finally, her arms are out and he gets the message. He's back in, away from any hungry predator. At any stage, it can be hard for a mother kangaroo to keep her Joey alive. Drought, predation and disease can all take their toll on vulnerable young kangaroos. Controlling a Joey while keeping alert to dangers can be a testing time for young mothers, as new mum Tilly is finding out. Now, at 9 months old, her baby Poppy is consistently out on her own 2 feet. Her legs are still a bit too big for her body, but she's bursting with energy. Poppy's playful antics leave attentive mother Tilly little time to concentrate on feeding herself. When Poppy's not in the pouch or feeding from it, Tilly needs to be sure she's constantly aware of where her baby is. Kangaroos don't have great eyesight. While their sense of smell is good, their secret defence weapon is their ears. Kangaroos have very good hearing. Each ear can be moved independently to scan the surroundings for any sign of danger. When Tilly decides it's time to move on, she bends forward to signal to Poppy to get in the pouch. But Poppy has other ideas. Learning to hop at high speed is actually an essential skill for a growing joey. And Poppy is starting to get the hang of it. This spirited bouncing back and forth is known as rapid running. As she ventures away from Mum and puts her legs to the test, her huge Achilles tendon works like a giant elastic band. Each rebound gives her energy back for the next hop. Once she's an adult, she'll be able to hop at over 64 kilometres per hour. But for now, this short dash is fast enough for her, and she quickly scampers back again. Poppy swings her paws at Mum and hops off. Adult kangaroos often settle disputes by boxing, and Poppy has decided Mum is good for target practice. Tilly keeps up her patient attempt at getting Poppy into her pouch. But Poppy sneaks in a quick right hook. Play fighting and learning to box is all part of a joey's development. Scratching and sniffing is usually the precursor to a bit of play boxing. But you need to make sure you have a willing sparring partner. While this all seems light-hearted, this play has a serious side, and it's how crucial life skills are learned. In later life, fights are used for establishing hierarchy in the mob. It's mainly the males who fight, but females can get into scraps over access to food or space. However, tolerant Tilly has had enough fun for one day. Eventually, after a quick feed, she manages to get Poppy back in. Now with Poppy inside her pouch, she can focus on feeding herself for a while. Tilly still needs to remain vigilant. Like her joey, she too is vulnerable to certain predators. The wedge-tailed eagle, the largest bird of prey in Australia, has been known to attack kangaroos. A huge, powerful eagle with a distinctively long, diamond-shaped tail. It's capable of taking prey several times its own weight and can easily pick off a young joey. And wedge-tailed eagles sometimes hunt cooperatively in pairs or even in small groups. When they do, these formidable hunters could kill a large adult kangaroo. Protective mothers work together too. Both mothers, Tilly and Lauren, are part of a group of kangaroos known as a mob. By staying close to other females, the extra ears listening out for predators help to keep their joeys safe. Hopefully this year will bring Lauren more success. Over the last 4 years, she has lost all her joeys. Most likely predators took them. This is a critical time for Butterscotch. For now, Lauren waits patiently as young Butterscotch ventures further from her side. She might appear calm, but her twitching ears betray that she's listening carefully for Butterscotch's movements. It's early morning, and Lauren's cleaning her pouch. After a night inside, Butterscotch is still tucked up. Cleaning a pouch is one of the first signs that a kangaroo is preparing for a new arrival and is about to give birth. And once she has a joey in the pouch, keeping it clean is an essential part of its care. She uses her long tongue to lick the inside of her pouch clean. When very small joeys are still inside, this licking will stimulate them to defecate. Mum then consumes the feces. And while this doesn't sound very appetising, it's a highly efficient way of reabsorbing any fluids the mother has lost from nursing. With an older joey, it's also important to ensure that mum removes any mess that's been brought in with the constant hopping in and out. As well as pouch cleaning, all kangaroos, male and female, need to groom themselves regularly. In the summer months, ticks become a real nuisance, and joeys need to be kept tick-free too. Grooming is an essential part of bonding between mum Tilly and her daughter Poppy. If mum can get the mischievous joey to stay still for long enough. So when Poppy returns for some milk, Tilly seizes the opportunity to do some more grooming. And the young joey even gives it a go herself. Once she's weaned, Mum will leave Poppy to do her own grooming, so she needs to be well practiced. Tilly can't seem to keep hold of her joey long enough to finish the job. She uses her forearms to hold her daughter in place, but the joey soon wriggles free again. This grooming is about more than just removing irritating parasites. Ticks carry diseases, and youngsters like Poppy are especially vulnerable. With their immature immune systems, they'll be more susceptible to catching diseases from the ticks. The parasites feed on the joey's blood, and if an infestation is bad enough, the loss of blood alone will take its toll on her development. After dealing with a fidgety joey, Mum turns her attention to her own body, most of which she can reach herself. But for those hard-to-get-at places, there's help at hand. The willy wagtail is named for the characteristic sideways waggle of its tail. They're often found hopping about the grass, picking off insects disturbed by feeding kangaroos. But they're also partial to a blood-sucking tick or two. And the kangaroos welcome the help in removing the parasites. Those young kangaroos that have made it from small pouch-bound babies to tentative explorers are still reliant on their mothers until they're around 18 months old. As the time approaches for the joeys to leave, space in the pouch gets ever tighter. Their legs are now far too long and they stick out awkwardly. A mother will be carrying around at least 5 kilos of joey by now. Tilly's daughter Poppy has grown very large and will soon leave the pouch permanently. She's still up to her old tricks. This time, she kicks Mum instead of boxing her. She still takes regular drinks of her mother's milk, and Tilly diligently remains alert while her daughter feeds. The wind has picked up, which makes it far harder for Tilly to hear the sounds of any approaching threat. She prefers Poppy in the safety of her pouch. She's clearly not prepared to let the large joey fend for herself just yet. But hopping is increasingly difficult with such a large load. Poppy's arms and feet can no longer fit inside the pouch at all. She won't have many nights left in the protection of her mother's pocket. During this time, when their joeys are spending more and more time out of the pouch exploring, mothers tend to segregate themselves from the mob. Researchers believe this may be to reduce the chances of the increasingly adventurous joeys getting confused and losing their mothers when there are so many other adult females around. Despite some mothers taking these precautions, a joey can jump into the wrong pouch when frightened. One study DNA tested wild eastern greys and made the surprising discovery that almost 5% of joeys get adopted by a new mother during the in and out phase. If Poppy's scared enough to attempt entering a random pouch, there's every chance that the adoption might stick until she's independent. It's summer now, and as the weeks and months pass at sundown, the ground becomes increasingly parched. There's been very little rain, and after an unusually dry spring, sundown is in the grip of drought. Conditions like this can have a huge impact on joey survival rates. In 1982, a drought caused eastern grey populations to crash by 40%. Kangaroos can go a long time without a drink because they get most of the fluids they need from the foliage they eat. However, hot temperatures dehydrate the kangaroos. And the plants they feed on. So they'll need to drink more water. But this can be a risky business. This mother has a joey in the in and out phase. and has separated herself from the mob. Alone, she's lost the protection of the mob's collective senses. She's extremely cautious as she nears the edge for a drink. Predators often stake out waterholes in dry season, knowing thirsty kangaroos will be drawn to water. It's a dilemma, but the need for fluids overwhelms the risk of being so exposed. Mother and Joey are far from cover should they need to make a run for it. And fleeing at high speed on the rocky terrain of the dry riverbed would be difficult. But after drinking her fill, she makes it back to the relative safety of the tree line. Here at sundown, summer daytime temperatures can rise to 40 degrees Celsius. Kangaroos can't sweat, so to keep cool, they lick themselves. As the saliva evaporates, it cools their blood. It's very hot for a youngster inside the pouch, so to help keep her Joey cool, this mother has licked the fur on the outside. As the moisture evaporates, it cools the Joey inside. While finding drinking water and keeping cool is a challenge, at this time of year it's access to good grazing that makes it increasingly difficult for mothers to support their Joeys. The only green shoots to be found are in what remains of a waterhole. The water has completely dried up, but there's still enough moisture in the earth to support new plant growth. The tough pond vegetation is by no means ideal. But with so little greenery, these two kangaroos are competing for what's there. The contest is short-lived. One kangaroo quickly backs down. The weaker of the two has to resort to the poor brown grass in the dry meadow. Being prevented from getting enough good grazing has had severe consequences. She has a very saggy pouch opening. Her coat is raggedy and worn looking, and her Joey is nowhere to be seen. She's not in full health. If a mother is struggling to produce milk and to get sufficient nutrition for herself, she can decide to save herself rather than risk both mother and Joey starving. A pouch like this is a sign that it's suddenly been vacated by a Joey. Either her Joey came out and was too small to find its way back in, or she may have deliberately ejected it. At a year old, Butterscotch is now the oldest Joey Lauren has managed to raise in the last few years. Despite the challenges brought by the lack of rain and poor quality grazing, Butterscotch is no longer living in the pouch. She's a young at foot. And Lauren is already attracting male attention again. This male smells Lauren's urine. He can detect hormones that will tell him if she's ready to mate again. But he doesn't get the message he wants. Kangaroos are able to pause a pregnancy while they have a pouch young. Lauren may have had one of these paused embryos in waiting, as she already has a new joey growing in her pouch. She won't be ready to mate again for a few months yet, which is why the male isn't interested. As the heat intensifies, Lauren finds it harder to get enough food. Even though Butterscotch is eating grass, she isn't weaned yet, so is still placing demands on her mother. And with a new joey in her pouch, Lauren must produce milk for two. Lauren's struggling. She's become very thin. One of the most remarkable aspects of kangaroo physiology is their ability to allocate different types of milk to offspring of different ages. Butterscotch will have been feeding from the same teat since she was born, and it's now stretched and elongated. When she weans, it'll shrink back to its original size for a new baby to latch onto. By only feeding each joey from one of her 4 teats, Lauren's able to reserve the premium high-fat content milk for her new young. Butterscotch will get poorer quality, thinner milk. And soon, she'll need to switch to a grass-only diet. She must be healthy and prepared for when her mother decides it's time to cut off the milk supply. So before she weans, Butterscotch needs to greatly increase the amount of time she spends foraging. For now, the joey still sticks close to her mother's side. This is the most dangerous time in a young kangaroo's life, when joey mortality is at its highest. They no longer have the safety of the pouch, but aren't yet independent and aware of all the dangers. Lauren's preoccupied by feeding. She needs to forage for most of the day to get enough nutrition from the grass. But while Lauren's grazing, Butterscotch is drifting, further and further away from Mum. The young joey finds herself on the edge of the forest. She heads back towards the mob, but encounters a group of kangaroos she doesn't recognise. Lauren is nowhere to be seen. Lauren risks losing another joey before reaching the weaning stage. Butterscotch calls for her mother. Lauren has her head raised. She seems to be aware that something's up, Butterscotch calls for her mother again. She's getting distressed. Finally, Lauren gets the message, and it's her turn to call out to Butterscotch. This is known as clucking and is usually a signal to joeys to get into the pouch. But Butterscotch is now a good way out of earshot. Although Butterscotch is close to other kangaroos who could alert her to danger, they won't protect her if a predator appears. Lauren finds a baby, but it's not Butterscotch. She continues her search for her daughter. There's a salt lick in Sundown, an area of soil where kangaroos gather to lick up essential minerals. Perhaps Butterscotch has followed the mob there. But she's not here. Lauren stands still and scans the horizon. Using her eyes, her sense of smell, and her highly sensitive ears. And this time, Lauren hears her. All she has to do now is home in on her joey's position. Butterscotch has got her ears working overtime too, twitching around in all directions, trying to hear her mum. Finally, they're reunited. For now, at least, Lauren sticks to her daughter's side as they head for the safety of the forest. But while Lauren and Butterscotch are safely back together, Tilly is now alone. Her precocious, mischievous Poppy is nowhere to be seen. When Poppy was last seen, she was still in and out of the pouch. But she hasn't made it past the tricky transition to becoming an independent young at foot. It's possible her unwillingness to heed her mother may have led to her demise. She was just too bold too soon. Around half of all joeys die before reaching adulthood. However, the high frequency of kangaroo reproduction ensures that numbers are healthy enough to sustain the population. Kangaroos are, in fact, very successful. There are 16 million eastern greys in Australia. And this success is in part thanks to the constant cycle of reproduction by kangaroo mums and their pouches. For Lauren, the toll of raising 2 joeys simultaneously has been worth it. She has a healthy, independent daughter, and things are looking up. The rains have returned. The lakes and rivers have been replenished, and there's fresh new grass, making life a little easier. Butterscotch has learned all she needs to survive by herself. And in just 6 months, she could be having little joeys of her own. Australia, a vast country of breathtaking natural beauty, teeming with extraordinary and iconic animals. Among them, eastern grey kangaroos, found in the southeast in their millions. For the males, known as bucks, their drive to perpetuate their species means a life full of risk and reward. From joey to buck, it's a battle for survival. As they roam the land, climb up the social ladder, and fight for their mating rights in a bid to secure their legacy. This is the secret life of the kangaroo. In each young kangaroo buck's life, the moment comes when he has to face a challenge. Fighting and defeating a bigger, higher-ranking male could ensure access to better grazing and the chance to mate. But the stakes are high. A serious injury could be fatal. Sniffing is the prelude to confrontation. The kangaroo on the left is Justin. He's been named by researchers studying the behaviour of a large population of eastern grey kangaroos at Sundown National Park on the border of Queensland and New South Wales. His challenger on the right is a new arrival to the area, a wandering male, trying to assert his dominance. The intruding male instigates the challenge. He coughs, which can be a sign of submission. But then he provokes Justin and paws at him to goad him. Justin can either back down or retaliate. In an instant, both kangaroos are up on the balls of their feet, standing as tall as they can, each hoping to intimidate his opponent. For a moment, The intruding male appears to back down. But after a brief pause, he renews the challenge. Like a boxer in a ring, he circles around his opponent. Perhaps trying to outmaneuver him. Kangaroos usually attack head-on. He circles again. Justin times his flying kick perfectly. It's a decisive blow. Justin swings his body to cement his victory in a display of strength. Then he sprays urine to assert his dominance. Meanwhile, two younger males playfully spar behind the older males, imitating the moves they'll need when they're older. The intruder has been defeated. His hand is dangling, clearly injured. If it doesn't heal quickly, he'll find it hard to feed, and his boxing days will be over. Fighting is a potentially defining moment in these young bucks' lives. It's a form of ritualized behavior which separates them from the females. While female kangaroos live in established home ranges, clustering together in a largely peaceful social group, known as a mob. Life for males is far more hazardous. Many roam the countryside in search of mates. This necessitates being exposed to risk to secure the future of their genes. And above all, males need to assert themselves. For all bucks, a large part of life is about body image. Large males like Tim, who only visits sundown during breeding season, like to impress with their big muscles and strong stature, both to attract potential mates and to scare off rivals. Giant is an alpha male who regularly visits a mob of kangaroos which lives and grazes on a golf course in Anglesea, Victoria. Researchers named him with good reason. His large and muscular arms are a sign of great strength. Kangaroo males never stop growing. And studies have found that in some kangaroo species, muscle size is directly related to mating success. Forelimb measurements show that whereas female muscle growth is proportional to body size, male upper body musculature becomes disproportionate to the rest of their bodies as they mature, resulting in beefed up arms and chests. A fully grown male can weigh 85 kilos. and can stand 2.3 metres tall, with an added metre of tail. But while larger muscles may lead to more opportunity for passing on his genes, the extra bulk may also come at a cost for a large male like Giant. While there's plenty of grass here on the golf course, maintaining a larger body weight can be much harder when food and water are scarce. A common occurrence during scorching Australian summers. As well as on the golf course, wandering males are a common sight in the seaside town of Anglesea, particularly in the woodland near the beach, and even urban parks. Males will travel through on their way to find fresh mobs and new grazing. These large wandering males may have better reproductive success roaming around during breeding season, as it allows them access to more females. The greatest distance a male eastern grey has been recorded covering is 250 kilometres over a 9-month period. Kangaroos are well adapted for a life both out on the pasture and on the move. Whenever they're out from the protective cover of woodland, they're potentially vulnerable. But they can escape quickly by hopping. Adult eastern greys have been clocked hopping at a top speed of 64 kilometres per hour. Kangaroos can achieve these speeds due to special tendons in their ankles. Up to 50% of the energy used for the first hop is reused in the next hop by the extensor tendons, which act like elastic bands. To make it even easier, when a kangaroo is hopping, he doesn't need to make any effort to breathe. The kangaroo's diaphragm muscle, which controls breathing, is pulled down by the action of hopping up and is pushed in the other direction when he lands. This means each breath is perfectly in time with his hopping. And it's far easier to breathe when moving than standing still. This energy-efficient way of travelling means that males can cover vast distances in search of mobs and mates with relative ease. But being on the move means that males constantly face more dangers than females. As well as having to deal with heat and possible dehydration, they risk being hit by cars, shot by farmers, and caught in wire fences. But it's not just full-grown bucks who face peril. For kangaroo males, a more hazardous life begins in the pouch, the pocket where marsupial mothers raise their young, known as joeys. Ensuring the survival of their joeys can be a challenge for kangaroo mums. And it's especially difficult getting male joeys through to the point of independence when they leave the pouch at around 9 months. Over 50% of male joeys die before they're weaned, a far higher proportion than of female joeys. Researchers are uncertain why male joeys are more vulnerable. One theory is that their bodies expend more energy putting on muscle and growing larger bones, rather than developing fat reserves that help them survive in leaner times. Researchers have also found that raising male joeys can deplete a kangaroo mother. Studies have shown that mums with male joeys have to eat more grass, which puts them under pressure, especially when food supplies are scarce. So when there's food around, they need to eat faster. Females are very unlikely to successfully raise joeys 2 years running, if the first is a boy. If a mum has a girl first, she has an 86% chance of her next baby surviving. Whereas if her first is a boy, her declining body condition reduces that success rate to just 50%. During the years between weaning from their mothers and their first serious efforts at fighting and mating, young males will need to feed and feed. When they're born, kangaroo joeys are tiny, less than 2 centimetres in size, and weigh less than 0.8 grams. By the time they leave the pouch, they will weigh around 6 kilos. And to become sexually mature and start mating, they'll need to put on bulk. The growing kangaroos need to maximise the nutrition they can get from their low-energy grass diet. And their ability to regurgitate their food when it's semi-digested helps them do this. Kangaroos have a digestive system very similar to other grazers, like cows and sheep. This process, known as chewing the cud, combined with special bacteria in their guts, which ferments the grass, turns grazing into an energy-efficient way of feeding. This enables kangaroos to survive over areas of inhospitable habitat in Australia. One reason why the population of eastern greys stands at a healthy 16 million. Joeys stay with their mothers until they're fully weaned, at around 18 months. They won't be sexually mature adults until they're around 4 to 5 years old. But like any male teenagers, there's plenty to learn about life as a young buck. How to approach females, how to look cool, and how to fight. For the dominant males in waiting, play boxing is part of essential preparation for their fight to the top. In Sundown National Park, 4-year-old Doodle is a typical teenage male. While he's not big enough to mate yet, he's working hard on his image. And trying to look macho. He needs to assert his masculinity by standing as tall as he can, with one forearm out and the other scratching his chest or his back. A key part of looking cool comes down to this nonchalant attention-seeking. While he still lives in the same national park as his mother, Doodle has moved further away from her home range since weaning. Female kangaroos typically stay within the same areas as their mothers, and males are more likely to disperse. It's thought that this may be an evolutionary strategy, which reduces the chances of inbreeding. Doodle still lives close to his half-brother. They share a dad. They were born 2 months apart and have migrated to the same area together. Once they're fully grown, they can start to travel greater distances and take off from sundown, along with other larger males. But while they're still here, like any teenage boys, they'll practice their moves on the females as much as they can. The adolescent buck's interactions with females are rather like teenage crushes. Doodle might be too young to mate, but that doesn't stop him from trying to woo an older female. His efforts mostly consist of following the female around and grazing alongside her. Sometimes he tries grazing in front of her, hoping to get noticed. It's not the most sophisticated approach. And then he clucks. Clucking is the noise males make to express their interest in females. It's the kangaroo equivalent of the pickup line. But his efforts are falling on deaf ears. The female has a small joey in her pouch. This means that she won't be ready to mate again for a few months. Eastern grey females are seasonal breeders, with peak births occurring between December and March. But they're polyestrous, meaning that they can have more than one breeding cycle in a year. While a joey is in the pouch for 9 months, a female may return to estrus when the joey is around 5 months old. If the female conceives at this point, she's able to do something extraordinary. She can keep that embryo in waiting until her current joey is ready to vacate the pouch. She can also conceive again at different times of the year if her current joey doesn't survive. So young males like Doodle work on the basis of persistence. Keeping up his moves on the female could mean that one day, Doodle could be in the right place at the right time and get a chance to mate. Pestering females is a constant part of a buck's life at any age. Justin, who previously won the fight with another male, is trying to woo a female resting in the shade. He makes his interest clear by clucking and posturing in front of her. But she's doing her best to ignore him. Her trembling reveals that she doesn't want him near her. Justin's scratching is a sign that he's not being too forceful. She sniffs the scent glands in his chest. But that doesn't seem to pique her interest. But he doesn't give up and follows her when she takes off. Her lack of interest could be a sign that she's currently not in estrus. For the males, the key to successful mating is knowing when a female's more likely to be receptive to their advances. So male kangaroos will check females regularly for any signs of reproductive readiness. Doodle sniffs a female's urine as well as her cloaca, the opening used for both reproduction and excretion. He can detect hormones that will tell him whether she'll soon be ready. As females get closer to ovulating, males like Justin become increasingly persistent. But if he's not high enough ranking or still too young, then this is mostly as far as he gets. Some males have to resort to sneaky tactics to ensure that they get the chance to mate. While it's predominantly the larger males who reserve the mating rights. Researchers at Sundown have identified another class of lower-ranking males who do sometimes get the girls. These males have been dubbed homeboys. Smaller, less assertive males who are less likely to be strong enough for the vagaries of life on the road. So they stick around with Sundown's regular mobs. And when the opportunity arises, usually outside the main breeding season, they're there to take it. DNA tests have revealed a surprising number of joeys are fathered by these more opportunistic, lower-ranking males. It's September, an early summer in Australia. It's now that the main breeding season gets underway, and wandering males seize their chances. Tim joins a mob of kangaroos in a small park on his way back to Sundown. He identifies a female and spends several days grazing near her. He detects that she's close to estrus, and wherever she goes, he follows. He waits until the timing's right. Tail stroking is part of the ritual. And then he gets what he's been waiting for. Mating can be a protracted process, with regular breaks in the action. But even after that, Tim's work still won't be done. Although he'll play no part in parenting, he needs to ensure that he successfully reproduces. So he'll spend time guarding his mate from rival males. Then he'll be on the move again. It's not long before Tim arrives at sundown, along with a number of other larger males, including Jimmy, who've made their way back here for breeding season. Now the competition between them all begins in earnest. The posturing, preening, and picking fights escalate to establish who is top buck and who gets to mate. For the most part, males know their rough position in the pecking order, and the hierarchy is often kept in place with long, penetrating stares. A submissive cough can be enough to prevent an escalation in hostilities. If that fails, males need to stand up to show how big they are. Males of all ages are jostling for position. For the teenagers at sundown, this is still an important time of year. Rivalries are established, and they get to fight with their peers, determining the pecking order for the seasons to come. At 4 years old, Doodle may not yet be able to take on the top bucks, but he's getting himself into plenty of contests. This is a typical teenage boy fight. There's less decisive kicking and more grappling and arm waving. Doodle leans his head right back to protect his eyes from his opponent's sharp claws. Both bucks keep hopping, learning to balance with their tails. Testosterone levels are raging. And young upstarts are brawling all over the place. Fights are more common among the lower ranks, who don't have high status to defend. But at this time of year, the larger males have one thing on their minds. Mating rights are hard won and not given up lightly. All-out battle poses risks, but if they have to fight, the big males come well armed. As well as their muscular forearms, their long, sharp claws are a real threat to eyes and ears. The muscular tail acts as a fifth limb during warfare. The bucks can balance on their tails to produce a powerful kick, while the sharp claws on the tips of their toes can do damage. An even greater threat comes from the force of the kick itself, which can break bones and injure organs. Luckily, male kangaroos have thicker skin on their stomachs. This acts as a dermal shield, which offers some protection from the force of a running kick. Justin tries his luck with another female. But just as he's getting interested, alpha male Tim arrives on the scene. All Justin can do is defer to the higher-ranking male. And Tim turns his attention to the female. Tim rubs his scent on the nearest bush. This is a way both of showing his supremacy over other males and leaving a message for other females. He also does this by urinating, though he catches the unfortunate female in the face. Tim continues to prowl the meadow, asserting his dominance. Males who are nervous or don't want to fight sometimes tremble in the presence of an alpha like Tim. He'll expect a male below him to give a submissive cough. When he doesn't get it, Tim walks on his tiptoes to intimidate the other kangaroo. That does the trick. The subordinate coughs as he backs away. As they graze, Tim continues to growl at the nervous male. Younger males will take any chance they can to raise their status. Teenager Doodle is chasing a smaller rival when they startle an older, larger male. Doodle mistakes his reaction for a sign of submission and lunges at the higher-ranking buck. Initially, it appears that Doodle's boldness has paid off. But the bigger male quickly regains his composure and stands tall to show his superior size, with a big scratch. Doodle submits, and peace is restored. It's been a few weeks since Justin first fought and beat the visiting male. His rival suffered an injury to his wrist. But with his arm now healed, the intruder returns for round 2. Brief, frantic periods of fighting are often broken with a pause to posture and assess the opponent. The conflict resumes again. It's not always easy to declare a clear winner in a kangaroo fight. But this time, Justin doesn't manage to see off the intruder. So he won't gain status from this fracas. Unlike Justin, who is still fighting his way up the ranks, a larger alpha like Tim will rarely need to fight. When he challenges a smaller kangaroo over a female, the subordinate will jump away quickly. But when Tim comes up against a proper rival, Jimmy, who could threaten his access to females, he knows he needs to challenge him. Tim's persistent posturing and scratching, right where Jimmy's feeding, can't go unchallenged. And Tim gets what he's been asking for. Within seconds, Tim and Jimmy are squaring up. It's over quickly, but it's decisive. Jimmy rubs his scent on the ground to assert his dominance. Then declares himself the winner with a high stand. Tim's lowered head implies that he agrees. He picked on the wrong opponent this time. Having declared himself the winner over Tim, Jimmy does what only a high-ranking male can do. He assumes mating rights. The female he selects has a joey at foot, but by smelling her urine, Jimmy determines that she's in estrus and therefore capable of conceiving again. After sniffing and tail groping, Jimmy gets the opportunity to pass on his genes to the next generation. At first, the female seems willing. Then she breaks away. Jimmy is reluctant to end the mating, but the female defiantly stands her ground. The pair mate again. But once more, she wants to get away. After finally escaping Jimmy's grip, the female resumes grazing. Jimmy guards her closely. After successfully mating, he won't be letting rivals anywhere near her. For those males who aren't getting a chance to mate, cementing their position in the pecking order remains the top priority. Undeterred by his last fight, Justin continues to battle his way up the ranks. Moving from one fight to the next. If he survives this season unscathed, he may have what it takes to one day be top buck in Sundown. Meanwhile, Doodle is still trying his luck with the females. Maybe next year.